Good morning everybody, it's Saturday the 2nd of October today and welcome to another session. As you can probably see, I'm next to the river and this is the swim you've seen me fish in the last couple of videos, believe it or not. It's been raining, it's been quite a lot of rain in Wales. The Y at the moment is just under 3 metres up, so you can probably see that willow over there in the water. I was stood next to that wading, doing some trotting in the last couple of videos. So I've come back to the same swim because I thought it'd be quite a good comparison. As you can see, I can't even get anywhere near even getting in the river at the moment. I'm here with my friend James today. We booked this day quite a long time ago, clearly not knowing what the weather was going to be like. It's going to be obviously a flood fishing session. So you'll be able to see how I go about fishing a flooded river like this. It's very brown. Clearly today it's going to be a barbel day. That's what the targets are going to be. Going to have a rove about. It is supposed to chuck it down with rain all day as well. The river's actually just starting to drop, but I think as soon as this rain hits, it's going to start to come up again. So what we find later on in the day, who knows? But yeah, we're going to give it a go for now. It's going to obviously be feeder tactics. I'll run you through the gear as and when I get it out. But I'm going to start in here because I know there's generally some fish here, not in these conditions, but there are some fish here. And then we'll have a move along the stretch, just depending, and see what we find. So here we are, secreted into position. Now, the gear I've got with me today is I've got my Daiwa GS BR LT 5000C reel. I'll stick that into free spool if I take my hands off the rod at any point. The rod I've got is my Free Spirit Barbel, one of my Free Spirit Barbel Tamers, 12 foot, 2¼ pound test curve. Now what I've done for today, knowing the river was going to be up and watching it rise yesterday and rise and rise and rise, is I've changed out the top section to the standard section, the sort of Avon type section. Basically took off the quiver tip section, and that'll give me a bit more backbone. I mean, quiver tip in this sort of conditions is going to be no use at all, to be honest, even a 4-ounce quiver tip. What I'm aiming to do is fish just on the edge of the flow over there. Hope you can see okay. We've got this slack on the inside here, which I'm not going to be fishing because the barbel won't be in there. I'm aiming to fish just out where that willow is. Now I know that when the river was, I think, about 0.3 on the local gauge, I was stood there and I was just about up to my nether regions, shall we say. Just over that, just under my waist there. Well, the river's up just over 2.5 meters on that, so there's plenty of depth there. There just seems to be a nice flow where that crease is. I'm going to be able to hold bottom with a reasonable size feeder, hopefully. I'm going to start off with a 3-ounce Guru gripper feeder. I've got some groundbait, which is from the Dynamite Big Fish River range. I've got the shrimp and krill. I've laced that with some of the, it's got pellets in it, but I've laced it with more pellets, and some garlic hemp from Carbon Baits. And I'm going to go on my ever faithful Hot Fish GLM boilies there, which are glugging away, and a matching paste which I've made from the boilies. There's no matching paste in this range, you have to make it yourself, but I'll stick a link up there to how you make your own paste from the actual boilies themselves. I'll also stick a link up there to my Barbel running ledger rig, which is what I've got on here. It's very adjustable. The only addition I've made today is I've put a float stop, or a big gripper stop actually in this case, above the feeder. Now the feeder will ride over that, so nothing's ever going to get snagged up. But I've put that on there just because I would imagine lots and lots of debris is going to be coming down the river, and it's going to lock on my line, and if I haven't got that there, it's going to slide right down to the feeder. So I should put that a few feet above the feeder, and that will just stop all the debris coming down, collecting on the feeder and then dislodging the feeder. It's very snaggy and bouldery in here, and if the feeder's bouncing around, we're going to lose a lot of gear, so it needs to stay where I put it. But I've got a braided hook link on there. Again, I'll stick a link up there as to how I tie these up and how I like to do things. So if you want to go and have a look at that video, it's probably enough waffle. Let's get cast in. I think it's just going to be a case of today of having a rove about and finding the fish. Right, let's crack on. Conditions like these, guys, obviously safety is paramount, and safety goes hand in hand really with knowledge. Now I know, having fished this swim for the last few weeks, that by the time you get to the end of my rod, 10 foot out, it's going to be 2 meters deep at least. This bank is like that. It does seem very shallow here where I've stuck my bank stick in. If I didn't know any different, I could perhaps wade out, and I'd be in the drink. You've got to be very careful. Knowledge is everything, and I do know that if I fish level with the end of the willow there, I'm going to be in the actual river itself, which is obviously what you want. I want to actually be on the bed of the river. I don't actually want to be fishing on the bank. I don't want my feeders to be on the bank. I know the layout of the swim. I know if I go much past that, the end of that willow, I'm going to find boulders, big boulders, etc. I'm going to lose my gear. I'm certainly not going to be casting out into that today, because I would lose my gear every single cast. As it is, I've let a boa line out, and this 3 ounce feeder, even on the edge of that crease, is still bouncing around. So it looks like we're going to have to go 4 ounce. I've got 5s as well if I need them. It's just a case of just dropping us a fish, really, trying to find some fish in a position where we can actually fish for them. As I say, I could perhaps put a 5-6 ounce lead on, wang it into the middle there where I know the fish were, and I was catching them last week or the week before, but it's just not going to hold bottom. Even with a huge lead, it's going to move, and I'm just going to end up getting snagged up and losing gear every single cast. I'm just hoping the fish will perhaps have moved out of the worst of the flow to a position where we can fish for them. And if you watch previous videos, I've said when I've been using this pre-spirit Barbel tamer that, you know, this rod will cope in style with anything that this place can throw at me. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Certainly thrown some stuff at us today. A couple of trees have gone past so far. Going to get a few casts in, try and get some bait down. Oh, there you go. That's a perfect example of what I was talking about. That float stop catching the debris on the line there, rather than it going right down to the feeder and dislodging the feeder. It's easy enough just to clear it off. I'm going to swap out this 3 for a 4 ounce feeder. That was doing a little bit too much bouncing around for my liking. We're fairly clear down there until we get out beyond the, you know, rod length beyond the willow. We're clear out to there. Just a fairly gravelly, sort of pebbly bottom. Alright. So again. So guys, as you can see, had a bit of a move. Keeps raining on and off. We've moved basically almost to the other end of the beat. This is the lower end. I fished here a few times with the water low and caught a few chub, but not much else really. looking at the catch reports, people do catch the odd barbel down here, but what I did in the previous swim was baited it up. There wasn't a lot going on there. I put some bait in, knowing that swim reasonably well as I do. The barbel do tend to hang about in the middle, and I could have put, like I say, a 6-ounce lead on and perhaps got over there and perhaps got it to hold, but it's so rocky and snaggy out there. I would have lost a lot of gear, I think, and probably lost a lot of fish as well. And one thing I do hate is leaving gear in fish, so I'm not going to risk fish safety at all. So I baited up closer in the hope I can get them to move in. And this bottom end is a little bit deeper generally. So obviously at the moment it's going to be flowing a bit slower, which it is. I've dropped into a swim which I did some trotting in sort of about 6 weeks ago, I think now. As I say, I had some chub out, didn't have any barbel. But you never know in these conditions, things are obviously a lot different. So we'll see what happens. Not a great deal of swims that look enticing in this sort of conditions in here. So it may well be a case today of doing a bit of baiting and waiting. We can flip between swims as and when we want to. The problem is not just holding bottom, is that it's the amount of debris that's coming down. There's a lot of leaves. It's, you know, autumn starting. You can see from the leaves are starting to turn yellow on the trees. There's quite a lot of leaves in the water, and they're catching on the line. And obviously, the more line you've got going under the water, the more debris you're going to catch. So if we can fish the near edge, it's going to be certainly beneficial. Could most probably hold bottom in the middle out here, and perhaps we will have a go out there at some point, but for now I'm fishing a bit of a crease I've got running down here. The other factor is how cold it is. It's proper cold. I think we've got 15 degrees today, they forecast, but the wind is making it much colder. The water feels quite cold to the touch as well. So I'm not sure whether Mr. Barbel's going to be particularly ravenous today. Well, that was a rattle. We've had a bite. They look very chubby, but we've had a bite. I'm only getting about 5 or 10 minutes out of a cast before my rod's doubled over and the feeder starts to move because there's so much debris on the line. Like that. There you go, look. All caught around that float stop. So I picked this swim because just to my right, just upstream, I'll spin you around, you see we've got there's a willow there in the water, just creating a nice crease. For those of you who don't know, the crease, what we call a crease, is where the fast water meets some slack water, and I'm fishing just on the seam on the crease between the two, which is often where the fish like to sit. They'll often sit in the slack water and nip out into the faster water to intercept some food items. So that's where I'm fishing at the moment, just in that crease. Can often be a very productive spot. So guys, just had a little bit of a move around so the rain wasn't smashing into the camera lens. James has just come round and said he's had one, about 4 or 5 pounds, so I'll stick that down out of the way. I might go and have a look because I think fish might be quite thin on the ground today. Oh, nice one.
No, I thought it was a chub because it was like a proper chubby bite, but as soon as I
you get down. Well, I bet he pulled a bit in this current.
yeah, it was like a dead weight, just sat in it. I knew he was kind of.
I tell you what, it's such a different colour. Just in a few days of
Yeah, they're a lot darker.
Water, it's just
darker across the back, aren't
yeah.
they?
That's all right. Great stuff.
Get back in there.
That's great. Really pleased to have one. Today really hasn't turned out how we expected. And James doesn't get a chance to go fishing nearly as much as I do, and I'm really pleased he's had that one. That's fantastic. We really had planned to do some trotting again today. James really wants to catch a barbel on the float. So I said, look, we need to go to this place, and we booked it a few weeks ago. And he was really hoping for that, and then yesterday, in the sort of evening before, we knew it wasn't going to happen really. Float fishing wasn't going to happen. He's caught a barbel, which is brilliant. Next best thing. In these awful conditions. It's so cold. My hands are cold. It's proper cold. Feels like sort of the beginning of winter rather than the beginning of autumn. Wow. What is this? I think it may be a chub. Feel some head knock. A couple of head nods. It's coming in very easy. It's like a dead weight. Yeah, it's a big chub. I like it. But a chub nonetheless. Oh, blimey. Well, that's the mark. Nice chub. There he is, first fish of the day. Long, lean chub. Very empty. Wonderful. Right, let's get him back. So we're back in the swim we started in. Tried a few swims on the lower end, had that chub. James had that one barbel, nothing else. So, thought we'd perhaps get up this top end because, you know, in the lower waters, when the river's got lower water on it, less water on it even, the barbel do like hanging around up here, so definitely worth giving it a go. It's about 1 o'clock now. So it's not exactly been a particularly productive day. Pretty hard work, that's for sure. Right. It's like so slippy. So, hopefully we can have a fish or two. Oh, look. Well, I'm not sure it's a barbel. It might be. Yeah, I think it is. Well, we've had to wait. Blimey. I had some rattles and taps and on the tip. Finally into something. Plotting away. No monster, but it was very, very, very welcome. Got it. Well, there we are. Feisty little fella. I don't know how big's that. Perhaps 4.5 pounds, something like that. Maybe pushing 5. But wonderful. Wonderful stuff. We waited for this one. We've waited, but we got one in the end. Hopefully he's down there with a few more of his mates. Look at him sticking all his fins out. He's very, very proud chap. Yeah, beautiful condition too. Wonderful stuff. Fantastic, and he's very cold. He's very cold to the touch, I have to say. So his water's cold. That's why it's such hard going, I think. Right enough waffle. Let's get him back in the water. Well, very pleased to have caught that one. Not easy conditions at all today. So yeah, well pleased to have caught that one. Hopefully, perhaps we'll have a couple more. Well guys, it's finally stopped raining. I'll give it perhaps another hour and a half in here since we had that last barbel. But nothing doing, so I think time for a move. Right, we're back down the lower stretch. Find some slightly more sedate water. Found some pretty sedate water out in front of me, or reasonably for today anyway. So we'll have a go in here. I think I'm most probably going to make this the last swim, to be honest. It's getting off a tea time now. I think it's about 5:30, something like that. So we'll give it a little go in here. Perhaps give it an hour in here and see what happens. Oh, blimey. There's me sorting my feet out. Well, I think we know what this is. Blimey. Just charging off downstream. Blimey. You sit there holding the rod for hours and hours and hours, and the second you look away, you get a bite. But wow. Well, this feels decent fish. Look at this rod bending. Of course, it might not be a good fish. It might just got out in the flow. Blimey. Absolutely flat rodding me here. God. To say these rods are wonderful though. Blimey. It does feel like a good fish, I have to say. I can't do anything with it at all. Wow. Right in under the bank now. Let's keep it moving. There's any snags down there. Oh, see, he's gone back out. To be very careful because obviously there's a lot of bank down here. A lot of foliage. Wow. What a scrap. Oh my god. Oh dear. I think we're winning. I just like the back to clutch off a little bit. I've got a bit less line out. I like the back to clutch off a bit. Cool, that's a proper one. Blimey. I wonder if he's pulling. Popped up. Popped up. Oh, I thought we'd sneak him in then. No. Under my feet again. Come on. Blimey. Give me a right old run around. Oh, this foliage, everything. Nightmare. Oh, okay. God. That was a scrap and a half. Oh, let's give him a minute to get his breath back while my arms recover. Wow. I'll give him a good rest up before we unhook him and have a look at him. Well, how's about that? Proper River Y warrior. Wonderful, absolute tank. That's a 9-pounder if ever I've seen one, for sure. Proper fish. Wonderful. I'm not going to weigh it, I'm not going to mess it about. Guesstimate is good enough. Well, that's fantastic. What a cracking fish, and what a scrap in this flow. Wonderful stuff. Right, I'm not going to mess him about, we'll get him back. Oh gosh, what a result. What a very strange day. But what a result. Assuming we have no more. It's about, let's get on 6 o'clock now. Yeah, it's 5 to 6. So I'm only going to give it perhaps another half an hour or so. I'm not going to stay too late, to be honest. James had actually gone already. He had to get home. He managed 2 out. He had a couple out about the same sort of size. So he was a happy chappy. I'm now a very happy chappy. But like I say, I will give it another half an hour or so. But I'm happy now. I'm happy. I've caught a decent fish like that. As you can probably see on the hills over there, the sun has come out. Just about. That was a funny old bite as well. I mean, often, you know, when you've got fish in the swim, don't you get taps and rattles, and perhaps it's little fish, or, you know, you might get the odd twang on the line where perhaps a dorsal fin has hit the line. Well, I got nothing at all, absolutely nothing at all. And then thump, thump, thump. You do get a cracking hook hold with these, with this D-rig that I use, as I mentioned earlier, and the link up there in the corner to my barbel hook links that I tie up. I always get a cracking hook hold. I have never ever had a barbel come off. I can say, hand on heart, I've never ever had a barbel come off with one of these, with this D-rig setup I use. they just they're always hooked fantastically well. Always like to feel the feeder down to the bottom as well. Those of you who are wondering what I'm doing, just stay in touch with the feeder, but just sort of hold it on a tight line and just not stopping it, letting it go, but also staying in touch with it. Just feeling it onto the bottom, because you can feel it with a thump when it goes down on gravel. It makes a nice thud through the rod. Whereas if you're on weed or silt or something else, it's much more, well, you don't get that thump. It's much more of a squelch than a tap. Well guys, it's gone 7 o'clock. I'm going to call it a day at that. It's felt like a very long day today with the rain and wind and this river that's been 3 meters up. It's about 2 meters up now. It's dropped about a meter today, but it's still been hard going. But had a couple of lovely fish out. James caught as well, which is fantastic, and I caught that lovely barbel, decent sized barbel this afternoon. So yeah, I'm going home a very happy chappy, I have to say. This is the part where I usually say, hope you enjoyed that as much as me, but it's been a bit of a grueler. It's more endurance at certain points than enjoyment, but nevertheless, you know, you can't catch fish sat on your sofa, can you? So came out and did it. Now, I'm not sure when I'm going to be out next or where. I'm going to have to check weather conditions and river conditions, but until next time, thank you very much for watching. Tight lines, enjoy your own angling if you get out there. Many thanks to the channel patrons for your wonderful support, and I'll see you all again very soon.